Matt, you were just telling us about what you had for breakfast.
Yeah, macaroni cheese and crumpets.
Oh,
Tinned macaroni cheese, always good.
my wife, not Alex's, loves that stuff.
Oh, it's great. Tinned macaroni cheese is awesome.
Never even had it. So I'm back with Matt. You probably guessed by what he had for breakfast.
Yes.
But, mate, I'm so glad you're back on the
I'm
podcast.
an
It's been a little
idiot
while, hasn't
on
it?
the panel of idiots.
Yes, this is Panel of Idiots Day.
Yes.
And I'm also joined back by
Alice Petersen.
Alice Petersen, who I nearly called Fenning again.
She'll always be a Fenning, really.
Yeah.
Yay.
How are you since we last spoke?
Yeah, good. Bit
Doing well?
tireder than last time.
Bit tireder?
Yeah. But
You
good.
cycled here, didn't you? And we were in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I did.
So
Yeah.
I drove. Did you drive?
I drove, yeah.
Well,
Alice is regretting because she's got to drive back home.
Yeah.
No, I've got to cycle back home.
Cycle back. Yeah, did I say
Yeah.
drive?
Yeah.
Cycle back home.
Yeah, it's dark
Yeah,
now.
it's dark now. You
But
don't
talking of means of getting somewhere,
Yeah.
today we're talking about travel.
Yay!
Hey, Segway, which is another means of travel.
Did you know, this is something very interesting, the
Go on.
man who invented Segway
Did he die?
He died
Yeah.
by falling off a cliff on his Segway.
I knew that.
Shush.
It's so funny.
Seriously.
Yeah,
Well, not
absolutely.
funny.
He
That's
accidentally
really
went
insensitive.
forward instead of backwards and fell off a cliff and
How
died.
can you accident? I've done Segway and it's not
It's
that
true.
hard
Well, if you
to
lean
get.
forward, you go forward. If you need
Well,
Well, it's
anyway,
all in the hips, actually.
It's true. It's all in the hips. It's true. He died on, so Segway accident.
Well, you wouldn't be testing it near a cliff, would you?
It's good. Well, I don't think
Or maybe
he
we
was
say,
testing
look
it.
how close I can go.
That's probably it.
How long ago was it? I feel like Segways are
know.
quite new.
They're not that new.
They're not.
Nah,
No.
they've been around a long time.
No, 20 years.
Probably more than that.
More than 20 years?
I reckon Segway's
How long
quite old.
have American security officers in malls been using them?
Oh,
Do they use them now?
they do.
Have you not
Big
seen Paul
balls.
Blart?
Excuse
Big
me?
balls. Big balls.
Alice, you're supposed to be like the Christian one with the theology degree.
So's Matt.
Like,
Yeah, big balls.
yeah,
in
but Matt shared
America.
about his big balls week one, wasn't it?
Excuse me. Let's move on. Travel.
Anyway,
We're into travel.
So yeah, we're talking about travel.
Yes,
Do you guys travel? I feel like you
I
travel.
love
more than
traveling. I love traveling.
How
yeah.
often do you get to go away?
Oh, I try and go. At least a couple of times a year.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
All over
try.
the place. You
Yeah.
do a lot of Croatia, you do a lot of Guatemala,
Guatemala. Yeah, I've been to
Eurovision.
Eurovision every
You
year.
actually
yeah.
like Eurovision,
Yeah,
don't you?
yeah, in country every year. Been to Malawi. I've been to most countries in South America.
Wow.
North America. Yeah,
Talk
yeah.
to me a bit about the Eurovision. Alice, I'll come to you in just a
No,
sec.
it's
but
fine.
I brought up
Yeah.
Eurovision.
Oh, it's
and I
just
feel
great.
like people will think I'm joking.
No.
That you
it's brilliant.
actually like
yeah,
Eurovision.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were in Portugal last year. Portugal, amazing. We were in Lisbon, amazing city. Lots of cobbled streets, very hilly. It's a great way to go to some of these cities that you've heard about and just go for a long weekend and you can decide whether you ever want to go there again. So probably would go to Lisbon again. Probably would not go to Kiev in Ukraine again. The hotel, it was 1980s Soviet Russia, really.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I used to work with someone from Kiev.
Okay.
She said she'd never have a chicken Kiev.
Do you know,
They don't eat it.
They don't eat it. We went to lots of restaurants trying to find chicken Kiev. They don't have them. They didn't have a lot
But
of
it's
food there, to
literally
be honest.
chicken from Kiev.
Yeah. I don't think you actually get the chickens from Kiev
No.
and then bring them over here. I think they're probably chickens from over here.
But that's like saying a Scotch egg isn't from Scotland.
It's probably not. Unless you're actually in Scotland.
Possibly.
Scotch egg probably
and
isn't from
recently, in fact,
Yorkshire
actually, I'm going to
pudding.
come back to you.
Sorry,
Yorkshire
yeah,
pudding.
they're not made in Yorkshire either.
Shut up.
No, I don't know if I made that up.
You've
No.
got to back yourself.
No,
there.
you make the Yorkshires yourself
No, I.
at home.
You don't have to go
So-
to Yorkshire.
So-
But surely the origins are from...
Oh,
know.
probably the origins.
And if you
of
go
these.
to a pub in Yorkshire, you'll get a Yorkshire pudding. But if you go to a chicken place in Kiev, you won't find chicken Kiev.
It's true. That is true. You don't.
I panicked.
Last time you were on, you were talking about Gapyar and the fact you went to Canada on sofa surfing and that. You're a bit
Yeah.
of a gypsy.
I like to travel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So do gypsies.
great. I have travelled. Do you want to know where I've travelled? Or are you just interested
Reel
in?
off a list.
Nowhere near as much as Matt. Sam,
I am older than you.
Yeah.
Only by a
you are.
smidge.
Just a smidge.
Yeah, I'm 23. So, but I went to.
I'm double her age.
So I went to Africa. So I went to 7 different countries in Africa, which was great.
Wow.
I loved that. That was like kind of over a year. I travelled from Calgary to Vancouver Island with Sam. Husband Sam in a car, and we snowboarded across them. Well, like we stopped at places, then snowboarded, and then moved on. We didn't like snowboard across.
Fantastic.
And then we cycled the last like big holiday we went on was we cycled from Venice to Rome, around Italy. So
For fun.
yeah, we did do it for fun. We chose to do it.
I thought you couldn't ride a bike in Venice. I thought it was on water. I thought that was
Well,
the point.
it's not entirely water.
Is it not?
No.
You can get water bikes
Can you?
with paddles on instead.
Is that a pedalo?
No, well, that'd be a sit-down boat thing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. And just to describe yours two's relationship, you were Alice's youth leader.
Yes.
And Matt was
We're
your
friends.
youth leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, your buddies and that.
friends, yeah.
But the reason why I bring this up is because you have travelled together.
Oh, we have.
We have.
And in prep for this podcast, I remember a little story that you once told me, Matt. Why don't you share it now?
So,
I forgot.
picture the scene.
Do you know what? This wasn't even planned. But I
Picture
was
the
like,
scene.
yes,
You're
they're
a
together.
harassed youth worker. You've got, I don't know, 7 or 8, 15, 16, 17-year-olds. They're hyper. They're really excited about going off on a mission trip to Croatia. Early start.
4 a.m.
What?
I was just saying it was like 4 a.m.
Oh, 4
It was like
a.m.
an
Early start, 4
start.
a.m. Leaving the Forge office at 4. We get to Luton Airport at 5:30.
That's not a bad run, is it?
No, not bad run. Just, everyone, just make sure you've got everything with you. Make sure you've got your bags. Make sure you've got your passports. Make sure you've got your jackets. We're all standing outside the bus. Alice just happens to pass her passport to a friend saying, oh, look at my photo. And her friend goes, Alice, that's not you. Alice had brought her brother's passport with her.
Amazing.
So imagine how that makes you feel as a youth worker.
How did you feel, Alice? Were you scared? Because Matt is like, I would be terrified.
That's quite scary to
Yeah.
travel with.
What did you do? Talk to me about your thoughts and feelings and emotions at that stage.
I cried, and actually,
Bless you.
a few
I didn't realise I was
She
bringing
did
up
cry.
trauma.
yeah, a few days before we went, I asked my friend to pray for me because I was like, I feel like something's going to go wrong. Can you pray? And when I got back, I called this person. Was like, I forgot my passport.
Oh, you didn't forget.
No, I took my brother's.
She then asked me if I could get her through on her brothers. I've done some dodgy things in my time, but I didn't think that was appropriate.
Was that beyond your ability?
Beyond my
What did you
abilities.
do?
Well, I had to wait at the airport for my dad. Did you call my dad or did I?
I think I did.
Yeah,
I think
'cause
I
I-
did.
yeah,
Yeah.
and,
I think you were two crying at that
Yeah,
moment.
and Ash, one of the other leaders, had to stay behind with me.
Oh.
And then my dad picked me up, and he didn't talk to me the entire journey home. And it was probably
goodness.
one of the only times that I've really experienced kind of, no, I'm really angry with you now. Like, not talking to you, kind of. I got in, just ran up to my bedroom, and then got my stuff and went for a walk. And that's when I called my friend. And was
And
like,
he made you pay for all the extra expenses. and
So
stuff,
you had to
didn't
go
he?
home. You couldn't just there's not like a
No.
No,
next
so
flight.
there was a next flight. It was about 3 or 4 days later.
yeah. I think it was just 2.
Oh, was it
Because it was
two?
the
Okay.
weekend.
Which we managed to get her on, which was fine. The difficult thing was they couldn't register her as a no-show until the flight had closed. That was their rules.
So you have to-
So
there's
even
the
though I'm
flight
saying
delay.
she's not
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
be here, she hasn't got a passport, they say we can't register as a no-show. We can't get her onto the next flight until that one's closed.
Right, yeah.
But I've then got all these other young people that we haven't even got through security yet. And because one leader had to stay behind, there was just me as a leader.
Yeah.
So literally it was the world opening up moment where the tannoy comes on and it's Will Matthew and just reels off this list of young people are cheering.
That's fine. That's my name. I'm famous.
So I taking young people on a mission trip, nightmare. I remember another one we took,
There we go.
I know what you're going to say.
guy called Joe Eddy. Great
You've
guy.
just- I don't know, Joe, but you've just
Do you
put
not
him
know this
right in
story?
it. No.
So we're at Luton Airport, plenty of time, no problem. Go and have some breakfast. Somehow, Joe Eddy manages to kind of trip over a chair leg, whatever, fell backwards against the wall. As he fell backwards, his rucksack strap caught on the emergency fire bell cover. The fire bell cover comes up and he breaks the alarm. The alarm goes off in the whole of Luton Airport.
Seriously?
They evacuated the whole of Luton Airport.
This is on one of your... Is that another
one of our
you?
mission trip?
Croatia again.
It's Croatia again. So we're standing in this outside.
Genuinely by accident.
Genuinely by accident. We said, look, it's total accident. They said emergency procedures, everything has to. So flights were delayed.
Oh my goodness,
people
you
missed
stopped
flights.
a whole
We stopped the
airport.
whole airport. The police
on the
came.
news.
I
Oh,
assume that's people coming in as well, right? Flights
everything
diverted.
it was just, yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So,
Maybe it wasn't so bad then, Alice. At least you
No.
didn't stop the whole airport.
but it was great. That's part of travel. I'm
Yeah.
sure we'd agree. Part of
yeah.
travel is the unexpected. It's the unplanned. It's the people you meet. It's the places you go. It's
Yeah.
the food you eat. It's the everything that isn't planned. That's part of
Yeah.
the joy of it for
Yeah.
us, really.
And you love it so much. You just got a cheap flight over, didn't you?
Yeah,
to
I was
Milan
in,
for a day.
Yeah, I
or
was
so.
in the Forge office, and somebody told me there were some cheap flights on Ryanair to Milan for a day, £9.99 return. You had to come back in 24 hours on the next flight. I was like, well, let's do it. Book it. Boom, done.
How was it?
Milan, I mean, yeah, it's expensive.
It's great if you've got loads of
You've
money.
got lots of money and you want to buy designer clothes, but it means I've been there. I've seen it. I've seen, probably one of the most beautiful cathedrals in the world is in Milan, and it's incredible. And I got to see it.
For a tenner.
It's about experiences. It's about travel is about seeing things differently. And my first ever trip was really out of the country. We always went on holiday to Cornwall and stuff, which I still love. But my first ever trip out of the country was a mission trip when I was 17 years old to Poland. And it just kind of blew my mind and opened my eyes to the world, really.
So where do you think that need comes from then? For us to, that escapism, that wanting... Because some people aren't fussed. Some people have never even left their county. Some people have never been on a plane. Some people aren't fussed about having a passport. But it seems to be Christians that love getting out there, especially
I feel like that's a very big generalisation.
Yeah, I like to make those.
Yeah.
Just
but
anything to offend a group.
I think for me...
Heck, Alice, lighten up. My goodness.
Sheesh. I think for me, it's adventure. I love it's what Matt was saying. I love the unknown. I'm like, generally when I've been on holidays kind of more recently, I've planned it up to a certain point, and in the last 2 weeks I'm like, who knows what's going to happen?
You like that?
Yeah, I do, until it's like it's 5 o'clock, we've got nowhere to stay, and we're like, there's no
Probably
beds
should have been
in.
a bit more.
Yeah. But I mean, I've always had somewhere to stay, so I've never had an issue with that. But yeah, it's that adventure, and actually Sam and I have always both had that. And so when we got married, we were, it sounds funny, we were chatting to Uncle Win again and Auntie Jill, and they went to a new country every year.
Wow.
And we said, we want to do that. So since we've been together, we decided we want to go to a new country every year. And it's just
That's a great.
experience culture, to really see the world, and to really experience culture. So a lot of it for Sam and I is we don't want to go for a 1 week holiday and stay in a
all inclusive, all your food and
yeah
everything.
it's really like, so we went around Italy and we cycled and we stayed in people's houses who we didn't know, and like things like that. So
That
it's
is so stressful.
but we had the most
Really,
amazing
is that
food.
stressful for you?
We ate the most amazing food.
I can imagine, but
So
I mean,
good.
now you've done it. You tell me exactly where you stayed, and I'll do exactly the
Right.
same route and have exactly
Yeah.
the same experience without the stress.
But I guess it's a combination of kind of God's creation.
Oh, yeah.
His world is incredible. So it's a combination of that and his people.
Yeah.
And it's meeting people who are so different from us, have different experiences, and putting those two things together is just incredible. I mean, I'm not somebody who loves change. I don't change my house every year, change my job every year. I'm not somebody who doesn't like roots.
You can't. It's not like
It's
you're
not like I can't
itching to get
settle.
out. Yeah. Can't
I
settle,
think the Germans have that word, don't they? The Wunderlust. the one
Is that a
wanderlust. No, it's that ability, always wanting to move on, always wanting to travel, never settling.
Right.
And I'm not like that, but I just love seeing the world, and I love the part that we have to play in that. And it can be for a holiday, and it can be for an experience to go to some gorge and see Grand Canyon, or it can be to go and see beauty, and it can be with lots of people in a mega city that's crammed and crowded, or it can be in the rainforest where you hear nothing. I did a drive with two friends of mine. We drove from Guatemala City all the way down to Costa Rica, but we
How many miles is that, like, roughly?
well, it took over 24 hours driving.
Yeah.
And the only time we stopped the car was to fill up with fuel, and then we carry on.
Yeah.
And we had a rule that we weren't allowed to leave the car. So we had to go to the toilet in the car. Wow. We had to eat in the car. We had to do everything.
I assume this is all blokes.
Yeah.
That makes it a bit better.
But just driving through kind of 4 or 5 different countries on the way, talking, it's with friends, it's experience, you see so many different things. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
So we drove down there without stopping, and then we took a week to drive back.
Nice.
So we just
So you actually got to enjoy
it. We got to enjoy it, and we got to
Yeah.
stop, and we got to...
For me, me and Kat have always really wanted to travel. And I feel without meaning to sound like a total cheese fest, do feel like it's something that we're called to.
But there
as
probably
well,
is a cheese fest. Probably, why not? Why not find the world's cheese fest and go there?
Good. The trouble is, Kat keeps having babies.
Yeah.
And you can't eat loads of cheese if you're having a baby. You can't have blue cheese or uncooked, unpasteurised
They
stuff.
say you can't.
Yeah. I've never been pregnant. I don't know. So yeah, I feel like we've chosen to have a family for now, which I don't think means we can't. I think it means that we'll be different, with our timings. And to be honest, we were too skint to do anything anyway.
Well,
so hopefully,
that's true. But Alice will probably say the same. I mean, we've been talking about Costa Rica and Africa and Canada, but there's some amazing bits of the British Isles.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've never actually been, but people say the Outer Hebrides, are some of the most beautiful places in the world.
If someone
Islands,
didn't know
north of
where that
Scotland,
was,
Islands, that's it.
Isle of Skye and all that.
Ireland, travel over to the country of Ireland and see that. Down into Cornwall, there's some incredible bits. Pembrokeshire of Wales is beautiful.
Yeah.
You could do travelling in this country.
Yeah, definitely. I do genuinely struggle a bit with travel.
Right.
Genuinely makes me really anxious. Can't be a passenger in a car.
Okay.
Don't fly
Really?
well. But I've always promised myself it would never, I couldn't let it stop me from doing something, especially something that I'd feel like God wanted me to do. A lot of my reasons for traveling would be to do mission stuff, or I went to America to worship school and stuff. So I kind of have that open attitude to it, but I just feel like it's not for my life right now.
And that's cool. I genuinely love that, meeting new people. So I do Airbnb, I'd rock up at somebody's door who I've never met before and say, hey, I'm spending the night with you. And they're like, cool. We have a chat and it's great.
It's just my idea of hell.
Really?
Oh, I do not want to speak to anyone.
Yeah, no, I enjoy that. I enjoy meeting new people.
What if they're a freak?
Oh, I have stayed with people who...
I think that's what's different about having kids as well. It's I wouldn't be letting my kids stay with anyone that I didn't trust.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't... there are ways of doing it without staying with someone, aren't there? But.
And you can leave them at home. I mean, not on their own. They're not old enough to... But, you can arrange things and you can do things.
Well, me and Kat went to France last year, actually.
Yeah.
We went to Cannes and Nice. It was really tough. Some of the mission that we did out there.
That sort of stuff.
Gosh, it was just really, really
and
tough.
it's those memories that it forms, and it's the experientions you have, and it's
definitely
cycling across Canada. What an amazing thing to do, to be able to say you've done.
And I think genuinely, so I've done youth trip stuff, but one thing that I've always found really important is, one, take your passport.
Yeah, that's really important. Alice has learned that lesson now. She always checks.
Two, don't shut down an airport. But it's always about the people. You remember the stories that you have and the friendships that you form,
Definitely.
more than what you even end up doing, really.
And I think particularly on a mission trip experience, it pushes you, to use the cliche, it pushes you out of your comfort zone. And you definitely have to rely on God more. There might be a mission trip leader who's got all the admin in hand, but still the tasks you're doing, your year in Africa, Alice. And
I think it grows you up.
short-term
I
trips,
think it
definitely
really grows you up. And having that different perspective, I think we all need to get out of what we know, generally as people.
Again, it's a cliche, but it does cause you to appreciate what you have here. Particularly if you're in mission trips in some harder places of the world. Whenever I go to Guatemala, and I love Guatemala, and I've been there 20 or 30 times, but whenever I'm there, I am thankful for what God has given me. In some ways it feels like a second home.
Do you get a lot of we were speaking a bit about it last time you were on the podcast, Alice, but do you ever feel like coming back from those places, there's gratitude, but is there also like that element of guilt and that like actually how we've got it over here is just a bit wrong?
There's if you're into missiology and there you can do cultural studies, and there is definitely a kind of a logical understanding of the different phases you will go through, whether it's short-term mission or long-term mission, and those are often it's you want to ignore. You want to shut down from what you see, the difficulties. You want to go in a 5-star hotel and pretend it's not out there outside your walls. And there are various phases you go through, and one of those phases is a guilt of what you've got. Yeah. And then I'm sure you felt some of that being in Africa, coming back from Africa.
Because did you come straight back from Africa to Canada, or were you at home for a bit? Or?
No, I worked at home for a bit. So when I came back, probably my first Sunday back, I walked into what still is the youth at Debenham, and they'd recently had
church,
at the Forge, and they'd recently had like the wall done and
just painted, or
like they got a wallpaper in, but it was when I walked in, I was like, whoa, that looks really cool. And Matt was like, yeah, it costs something like £2,000, and I was like, what? You spent £2,000 on a wallpaper for this? Like, is that? And because it was my first Sunday, and Matt was doing it to challenge me. Like I know that it was to say.
Did you just drop that in? Like Did it cost $2,000 or?
I wasn't lying. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was somewhere in that region. It might have been 1,800, but somewhere in that region. But I knew that's what she'd be feeling, and
it was that. Oh my goodness! I can't believe we spent that much on this when I have just come from some of the worst poverty that is in the world. And like I was saying in the last one, I met people who had no roofs on their houses and were eating pig food, and I experienced it. Like I stayed with them, and so to come back and to even go into Tesco's where actually you can buy chickens that were already dead, because when I was in Malawi we had to kill the chickens because the place where we were staying there were no fridges, and so it was, and there's sense. I don't know, so there was a lot of guilt, but I kind of, when I got back, I said, right, I've worked with vulnerable children in a charity that works for that. I want to work for vulnerable people in the UK, and hence why I worked in a care home, because here in the UK, like the elderly and people in like nursing homes and care homes, they are so vulnerable, and it made it worse because they would do things like turn the tap on and leave it on until it was like just the right temperature, and so the tap was running sometimes for 5 minutes because it took ages for the water to heat up, and all the time on my first shift I was like, my gosh, you're wasting so much water, and you're just using, there's so much food got thrown away, and it was just that, oh my gosh, what do we do? What society do we live in that we do you find that really hard? Like I spent a much shorter time in Africa, and it really actually messed me up for a little while. Yeah. Like coming back to that.
As it should.
Yeah.
I think that's a healthy.
I think it's healthy.
And then it messes me up to think, why am I still not messed up?
Yeah, and that's what I've been kind of grappling with recent. Is grappling the right word?
Yeah,
it's definitely the right word.
Just in that kind of, I've been chatting to people who are going out to Zambia and Africa again, and it's just, I should still be living differently. Why am I why am I so kind of far away from those feelings that I had when I first came back? Surely those should still be going through my head. Or do I need to go and have that other experience again? And actually I don't think I need to have that experience again. I think it's just...
I think you're right. And we should remind ourselves of those things. And I suppose I'd want to say to people that are listening to here, if there's a challenge in your heart because of what we've been talking about, don't jump on a plane and do a month in the hardest country in the world, because that will ruin you.
Yeah.
Take some first steps. There are, as Alice said, there are vulnerable people around us here. Start getting a heart for the vulnerable near us. You could, if you've got your 2-week holiday in the Grand Cayman Islands or whatever, maybe spend an afternoon walking a little bit further than your hotel, a little bit further
with
than the normal
parents'
shops.
permission.
Yeah. And kind of see what's around the corner.
Yeah.
I was working once with a little charity in Guatemala, and they were a great little charity doing some stuff. And I was talking to them about street kids. They said, "Oh, but we haven't got any street kids here." And I said, "Really?" I said, "Do you want to come out?"
Yeah.
And literally, we walked round the back of their building, and there was a fenced-off area, and I moved one of the fence panels, and we went in under the fence panels. There's 3 kids in there.
Yeah.
And it's like that was 1 block from where they were. And we could, and now actually they're doing some work with them, but we could be on a holiday. You don't need to change your life too much to begin with, but just begin to broaden your experience. Really.
Yeah, and I think you can't underestimate how your life can be shaped or changed by these experiences as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, for me, I did exactly the opposite of what you said, and I regret it. I went to Africa. I went to Uganda by myself when I was 15. That was a stupid thing to do. Not totally by myself. I went to see an organisation, but I had to lie about my age and stuff to get out there. It was a stupid thing to do. But I remember what I saw, what I experienced, definitely just set the course for the rest of my life. Yeah. And then I ended up working for International Justice Mission a little bit further on down the road, and that definitely shaped. I mean, I worked there for ages. And,
absolutely.
They're a charity. Specifically, what they do in Africa is they help widows keep hold of their land because people take advantage. When your husband dies, they come in, burn your house down, steal your land, and it's normally family members that do it. So we were fighting to help widows protect their lands. Like, I would never even known that was a thing unless that little 15-year-old boy. And it probably didn't do a lot of good for me in a lot of ways. I remember I've always been challenged to, and I don't know if you've heard this, to have a theology of orange juice. So the idea that we need to have a theology on orange juice, so an idea of how we spend our money, how we look at the world. So do you buy the fair trade one, which is probably a bit more expensive, but in the case of some orange juices, doesn't taste as good. So maybe you're not serving the people around you the best orange juice. Do you get the cheapest one that means you can give more away? Do you get the most expensive one that tastes nicest for you? And, that's just orange juice. And to apply that thinking to your whole life, I think is really healthy, like really hard, but really healthy. And I don't have an answer of what orange juice to buy.
And we've got quite serious, which is absolutely fine. That's been a big part of our travel experiences. But it's okay to travel and have fun too. It's okay for us.
Have you done a lad's holiday? Have you ever done?
Yeah, to go to Europe. Yeah, I have.
Go on, talk to us about your lad's holiday. Have you done one? I've never done that. So that doesn't appeal to me.
No, it's not. It wouldn't appeal to me now.
No,
but to go on a Eurovision trip, we do it every year. And part of it is because we love the experience, but part of it is just an opportunity to get together with friends that you love, to go and do something. I've got other friends of mine who the last weekend in March every year we go away. Yeah. And, it could, most of the time it's in this country now because they're got families and got kids. And it used to be abroad, and maybe it'll be abroad again. But it's okay for us to go and have experiences and have fun and God wants us to relax. You know, he
Yeah.
created the Sabbath experience. That's the day off. He created us to have that. And part of that is holidays and really enjoying that too.
Definitely agree.
You know,
Are
so
you
it
sure
doesn't
you don't
have
want to
all
share
be
anything from your
serious.
lad's holiday?
Well, it's just, you know, those are times I think we, you know, where we go to excesses, you know, and it certainly was for me before I was a Christian, you know, you go to excesses, and I've spoken about it on podcasts before. It's not something that I would choose to do now, really. You know, it doesn't fill me with joy. I'd much rather spend my money on a great experience, a great holiday, you know, rather than just going and drinking too much. Or, you know, people have an impression, we'll go to Ibiza or go to all the clubs, forgetting that, you know, the big clubs are probably 150 quid to get in each night, unless you're a girl with a short skirt, then they let you in for free. Do you know what I mean? It's true. And so, you know, you can only afford to go on one of those once, you know, and then the rest of the time you're at home.
I don't know.
drinking.
I've winked a few my way into a few clubs.
But, you know, even something like that, you know, why not take even if you are going on a lads trip to Ibiza or whatever, take one of the days and go out of the city, go up into the hills. They're beautiful islands.
Yeah.
You know, all of those islands are beautiful, but you just...
People go there on proper holidays.
Of course they
as well,
do.
don't they?
Yeah, but you just spend all your time doing that, so...
Cool. Before we close, has anyone got a holiday horror story? Go on.
Go on then, Alice.
It was when we were in Canada and we were couch surfing. It's like Airbnb, you just don't pay, so you do get your own room. It is very good. It's all done by reviews, so okay. I mean, when I say it's very good, obviously this experience wasn't very good. But we went and stayed in this lady's house, and we had just got there, and there was a huge Rottweiler, and she was like, "Oh, it's fine."
That's a dog, yeah.
Yeah. Big black muscly one. Ooh. And it was fine. The first night was lovely. Like, we had dinner, she had friends over, and then the next day we went out snowboarding and we bought some steak, and we came back and we were like, I'm so excited, we're going to cook some steak. And we got in, this is not bringing steak in, the steak is in the car, but we got into the house. She said, if I'm not in, don't worry, just give the dog a treat and it'll be fine. This dog was giving us the horriblest deep growl and was barking and would not move away from the front door. And we were like, oh my goodness, what do we do? So eventually the dog went upstairs to like the main living area. And Sam said, right, I'll go and I'll get our stuff and we can just go out, but we just need to get our stuff because we were in like wet snowboarding clothes. And so he went upstairs to go and get our stuff, and all I heard was this like feet on the floor, a big bark, and then like just footsteps and screams. And I was like, oh no, what's happened? And the dog had jumped at Sam, husband, and Sam panicked and was like, what do I do? So he barked back.
Amazing response.
Like lunged towards the dog and like shouted as loud as he could back, and then ran. And then he ran down to us, down to me, and we waited down there until the lady came back. And when she came back, she was like, oh, sorry, the dog prefers women. And, doesn't like being
all the helpful advice.
And doesn't like being cornered. So, really sorry. And the whole night, I could hear this deep growl. And I couldn't go to the bathroom. I just said, we need to leave.
Definitely.
And the next day, this woman was like, okay, look, you need to get to know the dog better, because they were wanting to go traveling and use couch surfing. And we were like, I was just thinking, I cannot give this lady a good review. This is terrifying. You should not leave. And then we found out also this dog had bitten her 93-year-old mother on the arm like a week earlier. And she lived like just off the mountain, and there were bare paw prints on our door as well. That was like 2 feet from our bedroom. So it was a pretty scary experience.
I remember once my first ever time in Honduras. Now I know all the great places to stay in Honduras. Brilliant places.
Same, bro.
But this was the first time, and it was late at night, and me and my mate Dunk, we had to find somewhere, and we found this Chinese restaurant that said they did rooms. So we were fooled by the smell of the nice Chinese food. So we're like, yeah, we'll have a Chinese and then we'll go to the room. So we booked this. They took us up these winding stairways, and it was like a TV show. So the chef's coming out with a big cleaver because we're out the back of his shop and he wants to know what we're doing. Went up these creaking stairs through this door that doorway that hasn't got a door. It's just got a sheet covering it. We went into this room and there's one double bed that's so sunken it's like a V shape. So we knew that we're going to be sleeping on top of each other. And I was like, and I laid down. We were so tired. I laid down on this bed, and the bed was damp.
Oh.
And you're like, I don't even know what this damp is. And I stretched my arms up over my head, and I touched the wall, and I was like, what is that? And I ran my fingers down the wall, and I had a handful of grease in my hand. And it was like Chinese food grease that had been there for years and years. It was advertised as en suite. Ben, for those of you that are listening on the radio, Ben is gagging in the corner right now. He's literally holding it.
I'm not normally like that, but that's made me feel really ill.
It gets worse because the ensuite, which was an ensuite, technically, I suppose, but there was no door or wall. So there was just a toilet and a shower in the room. So me and my mate are quite close, but we're drawing
that
the line
close, though.
Having to, go to the toilet in front of each other at this point. There was no handle to flush the toilet.
Oh.
And obviously the person who'd been in there before had just left it in the bottom of the bowl.
Oh, that's gross.
And we're like, what do we do? This is like midnight by this point. We're like, we've just got to do it. So I was gonna lay on the floor because I thought I cannot share this bed. And as I just was about to lay on the floor, these 3 big, huge, massive cockroaches just ran across.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, this is probably the worst experience of my life. Yeah, it was gross. It was gross. Oh, yeah.
See, this is what stresses me out because of what you've both just said.
I stayed in a shack in the north of South Africa, right, where they got no electricity, no running water, but just fed from a tank. It was a beautiful location. 2 single beds, me and my mate Tim. And just as the guy who'd owned it was going, he said, oh, by the way, don't worry if you hear any rustling in the night. It's just the snake that lives in the roof.
Nope.
we looked at each other. He went, me and Tim were like, oh, how bad can it be? So we laid down, and as we laid down in bed, we're looking up at the ceiling, and it's a straw grass ceiling. Yeah. You've probably seen them, Alice. The ceiling starts to bow in the middle.
Oh, my goodness.
And this huge S shape starts moving its way through the grass. Now, it had to have been 6 foot long, if not longer, this shape moving. So, like, how are you supposed to go to sleep knowing that, just above your head is a 6 foot snake that lives in the roof eating the bats and rats?
Oh.
You're like, okay. So it's a beautiful location.
Need to wrap the podcast up. I'm just...
But there's some joyous stuff too, isn't there, Alice?
Yes.
I'm never leaving my house again. So thanks for coming on. That's been really fun. Thanks so much for coming on, guys. Any closing words, remarks? No. Cool.
No.
Well, don't let those stories put you off.
No, travelling is great.
Get out there,
it's
travel.
It's a beautiful world full of beautiful people.
Go.
Great. We love the world.
Yeah.
Feed the world. Make it a better place for you and for me, the entire human race.
Says Michael.
Play the music. I think we should start the podcast with harmony. Yeah, that's a great start.
Nice.